I'll leave it to the professionals.
Blessed by Bundy, blah, blah, blah.
Started off with a bit, now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1, hella hoes on Web 2. I was living a dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, yo, set it up.
Surfing on the web and I'm shooting at 3. I've been goated when I got my G. I'm an alien boy from a different planet, yeah. So I got my drink, I'm riding in the 1920s Model T Ford. Car era lore. Call me Levi, playing on the keys, boy. And I'm about to put my gloves on. If I said it, then I meant that. Yeah, I like that one, I'm about to get that. Crash that whip for the drumsticks, whiplash. I'm about to get them all. Are you with that? In a white boat, surrounded by blue. I want one, but I got a cop too. I wanna fly high in the sky, arms out wide, trying to soar from a bird's eye view. I'm on fire, Ricky, Bobby, cracking the pavement, Whitney, Bobby. I'm a Saki bomb, Hiroshima, Nagasaki. Bruce Wayne been a dog, and I keep it 101, cause I'm feeling kinda spotty. You sipping on some rock, and I'm sipping on octane. The only thing around my neck is the
Started off with a
blockchain.
bit, now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1, hella hoes on Web 2. I was living a dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, he'll set it up.
NFT, Twitter, blockchain. Seeing with the ghosts and we ballin' like the Brown James. Crypto. We can make a trade, get the memo. Refuse not falling for the FOMO. Listening to Coffee with Captain. You know we worldwide, they loco. I ain't never gonna stop rapping. Orlando, yeah, we working magic. We rocking Ethereum entities. I just went and caught me a half base. Man, I got a shout out to
Started off with a bit, now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1, hella hoes on Web 2. I was living a dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, he'll set it up.
Breaking the mood to choose one, but they got knowledge to move, son. I'm shocking in shades with my brother in suits, yeah, them blues is coming. Even though it's hard to pick, eeny, mighty, mo, soda on the mix, no biting lips, it's time to go. Index number 1, no thumbs up, you gotta scroll. Looking at the ghost in studio, it's time to go. Had a helmet on by myself until I met a mask that wanted to have a face off. So had to bring my chainsaw, full tank of gas in the ride with my brakes off. I'm A1, but a different kind of steak sauce.
Welcome to Coffee with Captain, powered by ApeCoin, where we dive into all things crypto, NFTs, Web3, and cutting-edge technology. Remember, nothing here is financial advice. Early-stage tech can be exceptionally volatile and risky. So grab your coffee and join Cap and Steve for today's conversation.
Welcome to the future.
Welcome to Coffee with Captain GM. Thanks so much for joining us. If you've already done so, do us a favor, drop us a GM in the chat down below. Then head up top, smash that like, repost, and bookmark on today's space. We greatly appreciate it. Warms up the algo and does us a real solid. As always, I'm Captain, my co-host Steve. Never any financial advice in the show. Crypto is risky, NFTs is risky, meme coins exceptionally risky. Go to 0 to moment's notice. Please don't put any money you can't afford to lose. Know that Steve and I will hold tokens we'll talk about from time to time here on the show. We are not financial advisors, not your financial advisors. Don't join us for that. Just join us for some fun, some information, and education along the way. GM Steve, happy Friday. How you doing, sir?
GM, happy Friday. Can we talk for a second, though? I'm getting distracted by the GMs. GM to all the GMers out there. Like, retweet, comment on the room. It's Friday. It always takes time on Friday. But look, I mean, I got to change the title. We got some doodles to talk about here in a little bit. But can we first talk about Dunk Cookie and his handsome ass on that profile picture? He flipped it up. Not going to say his real name. Almost said it out loud. But looking good. It's like a classic headshot, like / almost like Calvin Klein-esque model shot you like to see. Shout out to Dunk Cookie and I'm other Steve. Shout out to Steve.
We got not a PFP swap, but a name swap from the digital identity to the actual I'm assuming U.S. government name there with the other Steve. But yeah, we got one going from PFP to headshot, the other going from DGen name to government name.
Yeah. How would you title this space, by the way? I'm trying to say Doodles team. I don't even know how to. Exodus is a little aggressive.
I was going to say mass exodus. That's what it is. I don't know what else you call it. It's a mass exodus. Could be good, could be bad. It's just the reality is yeah, at least from my understanding, if I were to like yesterday listed off the top 4 people at Doodles, it was Burnt Toast plus these 3. 75% of the leadership leaves. It's a mass exodus. I don't know how else you define it.
Yeah, I mean, I just have obviously a ton of respect for Austin's been on the show many times, made time for us. People probably don't know Squinch as well. He's been on the show a few times, but he's less vocal on the timeline, but he's brilliant. Greeny's just an all-around, all-time great guy, also brilliant, really good at what he does, and like thinks of things really well. Sounds like the 3 of them are going to start either their own venture or venture together, something like that. So it's looking like they are in some way doing some new venture, which is exciting for them. I mean, I'm excited to see what they build. I think more builders spreading out in Web3 is good. But yeah, we'll get into the Doodles conversation in a bit here.
Expand on that. Good because why?
Because smart people are building new stuff, right? It's like Doodles was heading in this direction that I couldn't quite figure out. We hadn't heard a lot from them. Makes a little more sense we hadn't heard a lot from them. I know somebody who recently connected with the team for a company that I'm like going to be advising with. And it's funny because I was like, oh, you talked to Austin. And they're like, no, Austin connected me with somebody else on the team who I also know on the team, but they're more behind the scenes. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. That's such an Austin call to take. That's like an Austin call. And this makes sense why, because it was last week. And maybe it makes sense why we haven't heard as much from them, but I just think with the direction Doodles has gone, like Julian was let go, or left, or whatever you want to say about that. Token, really good job on the allocation, not well in the execution post. DreamNet, what is it? Is it coming? Is it not? So to me,
I think DreamNet's dead. That's I interpreted.
They're taking elements from it, right?
Yeah.
But like, who knows? Are they going to execute the same thing in their company? I don't know.
Oh, I in turn, I don't know what this means. Like we don't do anything differently, but I guess sometimes we flip flop on our ones on the left, ones on the right. And sometimes it changes. I don't know what would be the difference.
Oh, do people want me to? No, the difference is here. I've got it.
How do you do that?
Magic, or I just drag it on the screen. The reason it flip flopped, by the way, this will get people. Like we installed that hand for you to move people around the side.
Today I learned you can move.
Yeah, we installed that so you can move it back and forth, not to throw raves. But yeah, man, I don't know. I would say, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I do want to get into that in a little bit here. I saw Emlo's just got the hand up and feeling hot coming in, so I actually want to hear from Emlo right away, because if Emlo comes up when Emlo has something to say, so it's not like Emlo just jumped up because we started the show and was like wanted to sit on stage. So Emlo, go ahead and get in here, GM.
GM, my question to you is, did you ever sell your Doodle when we spoke about this like a month or 2 back, and we said like maybe just sell it and don't look back?
Yep, I did. I did. It was probably at or around the levels they're at now, so I probably missed about 0.1 on the upside, so I probably missed a few.
It's down overnight. I think you probably sold above current floor.
I think it's around what this current floor was. Like I think I'd marked the bottom, but either way, yes, I sold.
I'll finally sell one today, and we can double mark the bottom twice. Although I don't know if it's going to come back this time.
Yeah, but I did sell, and again, it's not an affront to the team or anything like that. I talked about it. I'm consolidating some bags. I'm actively trying to move into majors and do some things that are smarter this cycle. So I did, but we'll get more into Doodles. I will tell a quick I don't know. It's not like a Larry David story, but it's a classic it's a George Costanza story, actually, probably ish. So the other day we finished the show. I'm feeling a little bit anxious about some stuff lately, and so I'm like, I look at my daughter who's sitting on the couch, and I'm like, "You want to just go get breakfast at a local diner?" She's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Dope." We get in the car, we go, we're talking about life and what she's doing and stuff. I'm feeling great. Walk in the front door of the diner, and oh, by the way, Machiavelli. No, it wasn't me. The reason we order differently is it's who comes on stage first. If Cap comes in the room first, he's on the left. If I come in the room first, I'm on the left, but you can switch it. But yeah, so I go in the diner, and there's an old man walking out, and I wait for him to walk out, like an older, like probably in his like 60s with his wife, probably, hopefully. I don't know. Could be anything. We've seen what happened with the Astronomer CEO, but he's walking out with his wife, and he opens the door and he says, "Go ahead." And as I walk through, I'm like, okay, cool. Like my daughter's like more timid and she's kind of like skeptical of strangers as she should be. He says, go ahead. I start to walk through. And as I'm walking through, he says, go ahead. And I see Vintage He's like, go ahead, young lady. And I walk through and I'm like, oh, haha. You know, he was talking to my daughter and he just looks at me and he goes, I said young lady, not you. And I was like, oh, okay, buddy. So I got absolutely owned by him. What are you looking at? Are you okay there, Cap? You are like,
yeah, like I was trying to list a doodle and I'm having a moral dilemma.
Of what? Let's talk through it.
I'm just going to show you because now they put it big in your face. And I've never I don't think I've ever done this. I think I've paid royalties almost every sale I've done. And this is like right in your face, big toggle button now, creator fees on or off. It's like, I don't want to give that team another $300. Is this
are you up or down on the purchase?
I'm down bad.
No royalties.
No royalties, right? I deserve that $300 more than them. And I'm not for creator royalties. I just normally.
Well, first of all, you should take it out of space because they sell better out of space, which is a pain.
Well, the floor is much higher, and I don't know if they'll sell, but it's like kind of, I guess, like 1% on the Squid Wagon, 0.72% on the Vibe Captaining. Like I don't know. The floor is 1.28 on the Space Doodles. It's 9.7 on the regulars. I'm gonna try to sell it in space. If it doesn't sell, then I'll dock it. I also don't know how to undock it right now. So
I would look at this. So I'm pretty sure Space Doodles only weeth for less than, unless it's like a rare, they only weeth. So I think if you list this, here's what, do what you want to do. Here would be my advice as somebody who knows a little bit about the doodle floor and how it sells, is if you list your Space Doodle, it's not going to sell at the floor price. They're all weeth sales and people don't buy them. Okay. Number one, if you take it out of space, it will sell. If you keep it in space, you're going to end up weething it, or it's going to sit there. You're going to weeth it below floor, or it's going to sit there, and then the floor is going to continue to potentially drop, and then you're eventually going to take it out of space and list it for like $700 less. That's my general professional opinion here. I could be wrong. So, by the way, I got a comment. I don't know if they want to be exposed, but I'll say creator fees are off for me unless there's a company who's very excited, who's executed very well, which I don't sell those assets anyway.
You're right. Every sale back until 4 days ago was a week sale. There was a couple that sold 4 days ago though at like 1.15. So,
but those are usually, I would look at those. Those are probably hyper rares, right? So it's like
mine's actually rare.
What's that?
I mean, as far as the rankings go, mine is basically the same. Like the rarity ranking as far as
no. But like the doodle itself, I would look at who's driving the doodle there as well. It also was, 4 days ago.
Just a normal dude.
I'll have to look at it. I could give you an assessment on this because I have looked at this market pretty well with doodles when I was like pining over whether I was going to sell, whether I was not going to sell. I'm trying to find the 4 days ago one that sold. Okay, 1.15 ETH. Doodles were also probably around floor at that time. Oh, it's a post-it note one. Post-it notes are a little bit desirable within the doodle ecosystem.
There's two. The other one is smoking a cigarette. Both two sales. 1.15.
The SIG one is not rare. You are correct on that. But that might have been around what the floor was at the time, quite possibly. Also, the SIG one looks like it may have been. Let's see, was that sold twice? No, that was just once. Okay. But yeah, rarity's not there. I would
I want to make sure that there's someone in our chat that just doxed themselves, and I'm not sure if they know it yet.
What?
Someone in the YouTube chat just doxed themselves. Wrong account. I only know I'm aware of this government name, and someone just.
Well, in any case, I do find this. I mean, we can get right into Doodles. So give us a like or retweet a comment in the room. We'll talk about it. I'm still rooting for Doodles. I still love the art. I still love the people who were on the team for a really long period of time. It's very different than it is now. I still love some of the people who are still there. I know, especially some of the behind the scenes. It feels like it's just an art
project, though.
Yeah, so we'll go.
Like they're just shutting things down. Like the biz dev, we're gonna take parts of DreamNet. Like to me, I'm interpreting it as like Burnt Toast is just gonna do his clone thing. Maybe he'll do some art, maybe he'll do some drawings, maybe they do some collabs and partnerships, but just gonna be art, do some animated series, and
so
fine.
let's give people the download here, because I think we jumped in and some people come to us for the news because they're maybe not as up to date on it. I will say Von Frunten, because this will be relevant to the tweet that I'll read for myself, says Doodles just makes me sad. 1 year ago, I was a raging Doodles bull. Same. So let's do this. Let's look at this. So Burnt Toast puts out a tweet yesterday. So Austin, their lead biz dev, Squinch, lead product guy, Greeny product guy, one of their lead product guys, French Loaf, one of their lead product guys. By the way, let's not forget, French Loaf, Greeny, and Squinch were that product team. French Loaf's announced like a month ago, if you remember, or like a few weeks ago. So French Loaf, Noah's been gone for a little bit there. So those four are all gone. Burnt Toast says, I want to extend my well wishes to Austin, Greeny, and Squinch as they embark on their next chapters. They are legends. They're among legends, and I'm grateful for the mark they made on Doodles. These departures come as we hope to sharpen our focus with today's release of the first episodes of Transmissions, where we're doubling down on content, but not just making more of it. We're working with partners and platforms that we can take what we're building to audiences we've never reached before. All of this has crystallized our policies: world-class content production at scale, collector experiences that serve our loyal community, and new collectors that we're bringing into the fold, brand partnerships that extend our reach and cement our place in culture, selectively taking DreamNet's best AI features to empower fans to create with our IP. We are moving with intention and ambition. More news soon. So before I get to my take on that, I had a couple people when I said it was ambiguous and I don't understand this saying like, oh, it's more clear. They said that. That is a great word salad, which could be really good if given supporting thoughts. But I think at this point, it reads like a 2021. We're going to do really great content. We're here for the IP. We're going to serve collectors. We're building community. We're going to do brand partnerships without saying who they are. We're going to grab DreamNet's IP and empower fans to create IP. None of that actually says what you're going to do. Now, I think this would have been a great announcement if he explained the pivot. So normally in a business announcement like this, in the traditional world where I'd come from with large companies, you would say something like this, but you would focus each one of those the pieces supporting evidence. World-class production at scale. We're launching a series with Netflix. We're launching a series on YouTube that's going to do blank, blank, and blank with blank, blank, blank partner. Like when Gary said,
I don't think they're doing it. If they were doing that, the team's not leaving. I don't think they have anything. I don't think they have anything like on the come that's coming soon. Otherwise, if they have these big projects, that I don't see this mass exit occurring. I think this is a winding down. They're saying it's not a layoff. I'm reading between the lines. And anyone, by the way, they're all welcome to come on the show if they'd like to give their take. I'm just reading between the lines that this was premeditated for a while. This was planned. I'm not going to name names, but many people have sensed this coming, since that, like, you know, some of these individuals had one foot out the door and kind of planning their next venture, and turned out that was accurate. How long that's been taking place, I have no idea. I
heard some behind the scenes
Does
stuff
this
about
make
it.
Dogecoin now a meme coin?
It's always been a meme coin though, for the moment at least. But the no, I mean, we had heard some things from some people behind the scenes that there's some people that maybe, I mean, not from us personally, but we had heard that. We had heard some suspicions on that, to your point. But like, I guess the point of this is when you do an announcement like this, when you say that, or you say we're collecting, we're empowering our fans through IP. Here's an example of something we're doing. Brand partnerships, expect a big one with blank, blank, blank. You know, serving our community, here's how. Like, it begs supporting evidence, because right now it's sort of a.
I don't think there's any supporting evidence to give, is my point.
Well, I agree. But I guess my point being, like, when you put out a tweet like this, I heard people's pushback was, I agree with you, and that was my take on it. People's pushback was like, well, it's clear. They're saying the direction's clear. This is a 2021 roadmap to get people to mint something during a hype bull cycle. It's not a, this is how we're going to do what we're going to do, which I think that's the difference, where when Lucas says we're going to bring Pudgy to the masses and then everyone changes their PFP and you have Van Eck tweeting about it, like, that's supporting evidence. We're going to reach more people, and the supporting evidence is we just got distribution in Asia. Like, that is a different thing. So you put the Von Frunten in the end, it's always burnt toast. It was always burnt toast, baby. He can do with it what he wants. I was a fan, then a holder, then a fan, now just an observer.
Oh, we lost Steve. Not sure what happened. Steve, I'm not sure if you're still on audio and you can hear us on space, but we lost Steve from StreamYard. He'll be back in a second. In the meantime, there he is.
I was trying to hit back on the wrong tab. I apologize. I was going to go back on this to get to this point. Because I was hitting back on the wrong tab. So I was trying to hit back on this tab because I was prepared to go back to my tweet initially that I was sharing. Now we've lost Cap. I don't know if he did something there. Interesting. And now Cap's gone. It is a comedy of error. There we go.
I didn't hit back. I just accidentally swiped left on my. You somehow, your brain must have got into my fingers because I accidentally somehow double swiped left on my trackpad on my MacBook, and it hit the same equivalent as the back button.
Yeah,
But
I
951 was first time ever, and I blame Steve.
what's hilarious is I did it and then you did it. Like that's amazing. So I said always a soft. So this is my take on it. I kind of quote tweeted this yesterday, and it did a little bit of numbies for me personally. Anyway, other people do much bigger, but I put always have a soft spot for Doodles. But crazy to think that just a year ago they had collabs with Crocs, G-Shock, Camp, Rubik's Cube, and Adidas. We're gearing up for a major film festival and a huge McDonald's collab. They were in holiday cups. McDonald's doesn't do a million holiday cups collabs. They do one every year, and they're one of the largest brands in the world. It was Doodles. Would soon drop music with megastars Pharrell, Coi Leray, Kyle Rich, Lil Yachty, and Lil Wayne. Executed great.
Am I mistaken in my memory, or did things just like really fall off after the Doodles promotion? The Doodles collab, and it's like then nothing. Like you got this big major collaboration, and then nothing to advance that momentum. Maybe some shorts or something, but really it was like following McDonald's. They didn't do anything to capitalize on that momentum, did they?
I think they were all in on the coin, and then the coin flopped.
I think there's a couple things that go into that. So
months after, I mean, maybe that's what actually Julian floored his doodle in December, and we'd end up getting that announcement about a month later. So maybe that lines up to the Doodles holiday promotion. So maybe that was it's still though, like you can still do a coin and build upon the momentum you just created in Web 2, and there was just nothing after that. It was like, and I think that is where they missed Julian. Like had they not had the falling out or whatever happened there, and Julian's still there through the first year, like actively working, I think there's probably many subsequent campaigns that attempt to ride the wave of the momentum they built with McDonald's. Like you just don't do a collaboration like that and then nothing, do you? Like just seems odd.
No, here's my suspicion. I can try to connect some dots. I don't know. The people who are who are deeper in the Doodles ecosystem, all those people, they probably are going to know better than me. And this is probably wrong, right? Like it's like we can only piece together what we can see on the forefront, and then behind the scenes, I'm sure other things are happening. Here's my suspicion. Julian was probably involved in the McDonald's partnership, as was Austin and all that team. As they were leading up to it, there was some sort of falling out over something. So remember, Julian was flooring his stuff in December. That was when the McDonald's Holiday Cup promotion was in the middle of happening. It's a Holiday Cup promotion. So he was sometime in the November timeframe.
Forget at the McDonald's Holiday Cup promotion, they also had the shirts and whatever that were printed on pretty shitty material and that were really expensive. And I think Burnt Toast took that upon himself to say like, oh, I don't like the direction that the company is heading in, being very commercialized and monetizing and everything like that.
It's possible. I don't think Burnt Toast, I don't think Julian left or got fired over shirts though. But like I think it's possible, right? That he that was a part of the deal. I mean, but my guess is whatever the falling out was and the issues they had was probably pretty deep and was happening in the October-November timeframe. Because if he left and was flooring in December, like that's a pretty big move, right? Announced in January. My inclination, if I was guessing, and it's pure conjecture, is there was some sort of falling out going at the top in that holiday timeframe. And so if you're Julian and you're getting ready to leave and you're looking for a new job, because he was named CEO of Rolling Stone not too long after, I mean, it was in the early part of this year. My inclination is that if there's a falling out, you're not planning your next campaigns at Doodles at that point, right? So like they got the Holiday Cup promotion, and if he was still going strong, sure. But I think what's crazy about it is we talk about the coordination of communications, announcements, partnerships. Every single partnership they did in 2024 was coordinated effort, multi-touch, billboards and partner announcements and community involvement and, pack drops and merchandise in the, in Doodle, in the studio. Like it was this well-coordinated thing. And then once he was gone, it was like, we talked about like, DreamNet was announced, but there was no real communications. Nobody quite understood it. There wasn't videos, even though you have Golden Wolf, there wasn't explainers. People didn't quite get it. There was sort of long white papers, maybe a couple threads, but they weren't super clear. There wasn't a media, a huge media tour about it. And so people were a little unclear about what that was. We never got that. the token came out. There wasn't necessarily a plan for the token afterwards. And they kind of said, hey, it's by design. We don't want to come out to too high of an FTV, but there still didn't seem to be one. And it just feels like there's just been internal strife since September, October last year, if you're looking at it, because Julian's out in December selling talent. After McDonald's partnership, nothing happened. So I just think they didn't build on top of it because they didn't have the person in place to build on top of it. And then they were dropping a token, and then they were doing DreamNet. And as the team gets leaner and you don't necessarily have that CEO who's the business CEO, they just went a different direction. And now you have 3 really talented, really smart people leaving. And so, yeah, it's
like interesting. Good take too in the chat from, well, shit, where did I see it? I just saw it a few minutes ago. I can't remember who to credit now, but maybe it was a different chat. Just chat's popping off apparently. I can't find it anywhere unless it was deleted. Essentially, though, that the TLDR was they just wanted to get their token, get paid and bounce. Like the thesis that this has been in the plans, this has been in the works for a lot longer than just a few months, like been in the works since maybe pre-December when all that blew up and they started planning, okay, what are we going to do next? Let's not leave now. We should wait until at least due drop so we get our large allocation there. We'll dump that and then we can move on. Like I think there's probably some merit in that. Like I don't think this just came to be in the last month or so. I think this has been
It's probably been brewing. Like anybody who's left a job before knows how this goes. Like, I don't know if it's that simple because people are like, oh, token, or people like might assign intent or whatever. I don't think that's the case. Like, I think this is like probably a situation like any job you've ever been in. Like, again, with zero knowledge of what goes on behind the scenes there, because look, I mean, none of us saw the Julian thing coming when they were doing McDonald's partnerships. I think there's a good chance. Like, I mean, think of any job that you have left. You've probably thought about leaving that job for a while. It rarely is a sudden turn of events. There's probably a lot of things building up, or, sometimes things run their course, which is totally fine too. There's a lot of debate. And then end of the day, like, it happened. But I don't think it was necessarily like they were doing exit liquidity, or like I heard some people like in my mentions being like, they printed off the token and then just like left. And no, I don't think that's the case with this team. I think they had direction. Maybe the team and people didn't like the direction Julian was going. I don't know. Again, I had like a 3-month stint where I consulted and did a couple things with them. Not a lot at all. Had some meetings and things. Everything I could see that it was simpatico. Everyone seemed happy with the direction, happy with Julian, happy with everything they were doing. So no indicator at that point. And then shortly after, like I'm buddy with a lot of the people on the team, like felt like everything was going pretty smoothly. And then the Julian thing just felt like it just became rocked and uncertain after that. And yeah, man, I don't know. It just feels like that was the beginning of the piece to start to crumble. Was probably sometime in the late fall, early winter. There was like there was some uncomfortable conversations going on at the top. Julian leaves. And then you're just sort of like sailing off into like whatever they are. But it's just to go back to the list, it is insane to me to think about this like team as like what they were executing last year. We were having a conversation about them executing at a higher level than anybody else. Like the collabs, Crocs, G-Shock, Camp, Rubik's Cube, Adidas, the music with all the major stars, Doodle Putt. We talked about how great their IRL was and how they could do that and pick that up and move it elsewhere and it would be successful. Like Toronto International Film Festival, McDonald's, all these big things. 2 out of 3 founders off the team. Julian and now is the CEO of Rolling Stone. The product team is gone. Again, not just the 2 yesterday. French Loaf announced a few months ago again. Like, so I think like that happened. And the business lead who was bringing in a lot of those partnerships and working on the back end and all that stuff. It's crazy to think of that direction. And now we're hearing there's going to be IP. There's going to be community and vibes. It's like, man, we had this conversation like Von Frutton and I, where it's like Doodles made us feel something. And now we don't feel something.
Maybe you say the same thing about Artifact, which literally was acquired by Nike for a lot of money. And it is one of the teams that was executing at the highest levels in the space before they were acquired. And then after they acquired, there was a lot of different things that went wrong and whatever. I think the corporate aspects coming into the NFT ecosystem has not gone well for any of these brands that have come in.
Yeah, I mean, I hard disagree on that for a lot of reasons. I think Artifact and Nike are completely different. In fact, when Nike acquired Artifact, I questioned. There were some things I look forward to. I'm like, look, they got Nike. Maybe they're going to split the brands. And I tried to be optimistic about it because I tend to be a optimist by nature. My commentary on this show at the time was largely like that when Nike dropped .swoosh, you acquired an entire division and then you dropped .swoosh. And I had this comment. People were like, oh, you should buy an Artifact. It's Nike. Buy an Artifact. It's Nike. I'm like, if I'm Nike and I have a homegrown Web3 program that I'm building, am I really going to put time into Artifacts? And then the closest thing I could come to it was, hey, Nike's maybe making it a luxury brand, a brand under their, under their sort of, group of brands. I think that's very different. I also think it's like, I think that the tech and adoption challenge that we saw with corporations in this space is very different. Like, I don't think anybody's saying Pudgy Penguins partnered with Van Eck, Target, Walmart. Oh my God, this is bad for them. Like, corporate coming into the space isn't bad. It's just how it's executed and what it is. So I don't think that applies. I think if we apply,
I'm not anti this at all. But as far as these crypto native Web3 brands go, at least from the 21 class, what is in hindsight appearing to be not great, I'm not gonna say it's bad, but I think changed the trajectory of many of these brands and ultimately led to their demise, was raising way too much VC money.
Yep. Had this conversation yesterday with someone.
It's just like, look at them. Like, and we said 99% of these NFT projects are going to go to zero. I believe that. I truly do believe that. I did not think it would be Pixel Vault, Moonbirds, Doodles, at least not this.
Right. That was more my point. Like, I wouldn't have, if you had told me that 99% of the NFT projects in the space would fail, I'd say, okay, fine, no problem. But if you would have told me that Nike's NFT project in the space would fail, I'd be like, you're kidding me.
Yeah, I agree. That's the wild part to me, is the ones that for my, and again, it's hard to like, did they execute things? Did they accomplish things that these others who minted out for a few $1 million and didn't do a fraction of this? Sure. But for all that they had going on for them, for the attention, for the momentum, for the revenues they were generating, for the money they raised, it's kind of shocking in hindsight that really the ones that raised the most, minus a handful that remain, they failed the hardest.
Yeah, I think, well, again, I like the part where I would say, like, I agree on that. The raising part, I fully agree with, actually. I had this conversation related to Pixel Vault, which we'll get into more today. Pixel Vault raised $100 million. Suddenly they're selling planets they don't know what to do with. Like, that part.
Are we going to get into what appears to be confirmed more than a rumor now? What happened with the?
Oh my God, yeah, we will. I'm glad I put that tweet out yesterday. It didn't get a lot of run, but the comment.
Are you talking about where G-Funk pretended like he was hacked but wasn't actually hacked, or something else?
Yeah, we'll get into it in a minute, but like to talk about the partnerships thing, just because I want to, like, kind of bifurcate a couple things.
Words like theft and fraud, but I'm not going to go there.
I want to go on two separate things. I think one, yeah, like raising too much is a problem. And by the way, you can find a clip from Silicon Valley to show years ago talking about raising too much being a problem. So raising too much is a problem. I don't think big brands or big corporate or that is a bad thing. Like, Starbucks had nothing to do with the connection that was going on with the community and the people that were getting involved with it. It had more to do with like CEO changes, the technology at the time, a lot of things like that. I think same with Nike in a very similar boat, and the market that we went into, there were regulatory headwinds, which obviously matter as well. So I think there's a lot that goes into that. The corporate part, like nobody's saying that VeeFriends selling Topps Chrome boxes for $99 that end up going for like $400 in the secondary market is bad, that they partner with Topps Chrome. Nobody's saying Pudgy Penguin partnering with Walmart and Target for distribution is bad, or Van Eck is bad. I don't think that Doodles getting involved in that corporate world is bad. I think that the execution matters. Who's running the shit matters. How it's done matters. And I think, we have these sort of like things where we'll say like it's bad when it goes wrong, but it's good when it goes well. So I think we need to be like the point needs to be like how you execute matters. The team, the execution, the leadership, all of those things come into play. I think raising is a whole nother conversation, which we can definitely get into. That raising is a problem for a lot of these companies. And we'll get into the Pixel Vault thing here in a minute, but I saw Joey Val's hand go up. So
Just
Wanna
to
let
add
you-
to that, I don't think raising's a problem. I think raising far too much capital is a problem.
Correct.
I think
Yes, 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 yes.
that's the common thread here is none of these brands needed to raise as much capital as they did. The only exception I would say is Yuga because of their audacious goals with Other Side and the staff they initially hired to build that. Like that took a massive amount of capital. No one else has done anything remotely close that required hundreds of millions of dollars. Like I saw Serpent Text, I think it was Serpent put a text out yesterday. Like this is someone who hires engineers, world-class engineers on his team. He's got a handful of them. And for $100 million, he's like, dude, that should have been 4 years of runway for 100+ world-class engineers. Like not the 1,000x engineers that Zuck is hiring away from OpenAI, but it's just like none of these companies needed nearly, it was way too much money. Part of it was the hysteria during the mania. So I get it. I'm not saying don't like, it's just like this is the downside of VC funds when it's way too much. They spend money on things they shouldn't be spending money on, and it just I don't want to say dumb, fat, and happy. I wasn't there. I wasn't a fly on the wall. I have no idea the conversations, but that it's you can't deny that that's a common thread amongst the artifacts, the pixel vaults, Doodles. Like they raised massive amounts of money and was the beginning of the end from in hindsight.
Is there a reason why you think
Agree with
why
that.
that is
Agree
though?
with that.
Like
Let's
why
go,
raising too much money is leads to the downfall?
Let's swing it over to Joey Valls. Joey Valls, I saw your hand up. Go ahead and get in here,
Look,
GM.
I don't know if you could hear Imlo there. He just asked why that leads to the downfall. I mean, different for all, but it's like
You need to pay people back. Okay.
Yeah, if you have $1 million in your checking account, you're probably not going to be as diligent with your expenses and your monthly budget as if you would if you had $1,000 in your monthly checking account. You know, the best is probably somewhere in between, but they just stop acting like a startup in most cases. Like, and this isn't just a Web3 issue. Like you see this happen in Silicon Valley all the time, where teams they overraise, they hire people that takes them away from their core, their vision, turns them into something they're not. And then, oh, by the way, when you raise that much money at billion-dollar valuations, at hundreds of millions of dollars of valuations, those VCs aren't doing it for charity. They expect a return. And when in this business, a lot of that raise was done off of a revenue model that ceased to exist after a while. Like royalties went away for all intents and purposes. Therefore, they had to do things to justify that valuation, to give some sort of a path to maybe making their investors whole at some point. And that's ongoing pressure. And the reality is, I don't think any of those companies that raised at the Pico top of 21 are like, I shouldn't say ever, but it's like another cycle or two away before they get back to those valuations in most cases. It was just, they raised on something that doesn't exist anymore. And just far too much money. So then like, it's like, if they, it wasn't, in most of these cases, I don't think it was debt, but if you went out and took a loan, $1 million loan, your debt service is pretty big. Like you depending on what exact terms you got to be able to repay that debt. Not the exact thing here when it's equity in the form of VC investment, but again, will they mark down their investment? Sure. I don't know all these investors personally. I don't know any of them really for that matter, but I guarantee you they had some expectation of a return and applied some pressure to do things like, you got to, what's your revenue plans this quarter? Well, shit, we lost royalties. We'll sell some overpriced hoodies. We'll do another pack drop. And again, making a lot of assumptions here, but I think Julian was probably doing a good job of managing that dynamic. And when he left, like you see like, okay, like there's probably additional pressure being applied to Burnt Toast. Like, dude, we're not going to continue. Like, yeah, you might have enough burn for you might have enough runway for the next 3 years. We're not cool with you just burning $300,000 a month in payroll. Like you need to make some cuts. Like there's no path to profitability unless you make cuts. There's two ways to increase profits as a business. You sell more stuff and drive more revenue, or you decrease expenses. And I think a lot of them don't have any clue how to drive more revenue. So the only option they have left is decrease expenses to at least show some effort to making their investors whole or a path to profitability. Doodles is unique because of Golden Wolf. You would think they have revenue coming in. They just sold $300,000 of stickers a couple months ago. Like, it's not like that there's nothing, but had they raised, I don't know, a tenth of the amount they raised, this plays out differently.
Yeah, I was gonna say on that note, it's like, to your point, like, to use the Pixel Vault example, which we'll talk about later, it's like they raised $100 million when they had a really cool business. It seemed to be going a good direction, a really great community. Then they sold tens of thousands of planets for millions of dollars, because when you have VC money to pay and you don't have royalties and you don't have a strong business revenue model, like selling more NFTs is the thing. And I thought the pack model was clever because it was at least like, hey, play the lottery to win a $100,000 Rubik's Cube or whatever it was, right? It's like, okay, like that's interesting. Or
You're using as examples, others should do this. Others should lean into this, that like pack rips and chase items. Like we thought it was a good example. I wasn't even a pack buyer, but I liked the mechanic. It made sense. Like it wasn't like, I didn't think it was extractive, but.
And then you could sell those, like people did sell and collect those wearables, especially if you got rare ones. And then, by the way, they did a good job with the tokenomics on those wearables, where the more rare ones got you more tokens, you know, and if the token was, again, had performed a little better. But Joey, I know you're dying to get in here, so go ahead and get in here, GM Joey.
GM guys. I think the Doodles thing that is kind of crazy to me is since 2022, I won't say 2021, but since 2022, maybe like, middle 2022, when the bear really like started to hit, everybody was like, in order for a lot of these businesses to survive, they have to figure out how to get out of just Web3, right? They got to get into Web2. They got to get to the masses. They got to grow their business. They got to find new audience, create revenue. And I could be wrong, but I feel like Doodles was the first to do that with Camp, with the acquisition of Golden Wolf, with Crocs, with G-Shock, right? Like with all maybe somebody did it before that I don't remember, but they were, in my memory, the first ones to bridge that gap. Like when they announced Camp, it was like, that was huge. We were like, this is amazing, right? Like they're going to be in the downtown area of a major US city where people are going to see them and get to experience what Doodles is, and right, like the Pharrell and the cartoons and the animations and they did all the things that we've all been screaming about, right? Like how to get out of just this niche corner of the internet, and then they just didn't, right? Like they just said, no, we're just not going to do that anymore. We're, Camp, McDonald's, film festival, like, no, we're not going to go to Web 2. We're not going to onboard, non-Web 3 people. We're just going to build a AI world and not continue to grow outside of this space. Am I taking crazy pills?
I thought, look, I mean, I sent a DM to Julian after DoodlePutt and said, like, you should scale this. If you left this as a permanent experience and you set up a place for people to like take shots for Instagram and TikTok and like actually film, because it's very visually appealing, but you give holders some sort of level of access, I think you can actually make this thing work and staff it. They didn't want to, but he said, hey, something else will be coming up. The next thing was Camp.
This is where like this is where like I really feel like they fumbled a few opportunities. DoodlePutt was great. You have people that talk like I think Crocs recently. I'd love to own a DoodlePutt. I don't know if that's a profitable venture, but it was a hit.
It's definitely profitable. Look at Tiger Woods opened up a fucking miniature golf.
People enjoyed it. It was a hit. People enjoyed Camp. It was a hit. Like they had a path to what I believe like a actual real franchise, and there was just no follow. It was just like from one project to another instead of okay, how do we tie all this together? What's our cohesive plan for sustainability? And here we are in 2025, and I have no idea. I have no idea what they're going to do to generate revenue. None. I couldn't even guess at this point, Steve.
Yeah, no, they did follow. To be fair, when I said that DM to Julian, he followed DoodlePutt with the Camp experience, and the Camp experience was supposed to expand, outside of just the one Chicago experience. It was really fun. It was like they were trying to do something there, and we saw some opportunity. So I do think they tried to do it.
They did, but then what? Okay, like they did. It worked. And then nothing. It's like, and then it's just gone. Like, That's
I mean, this was my conversation about in the war room we had about the McDonald's thing when, you know, the people in the war room that are Doodles fans were like, "Oh, McDonald's is huge," and I'm like, "Okay, you're on cups. You probably cost you a lot of money for this McDonald's partnership, but like, what's next, right?
Well,
Like,
that's the but Joey,
how do you?"
I was going to say, sorry, Joey, to cut you off, but like that was what we were saying earlier. Is like, I think the what's next problem that we were running into was there was some like clearly something was happening behind. If Julian is flooring his Doodles partnership, that's why the what's next didn't happen. And to your point, I think that's the point you're making. But at the same time, the what's next doesn't happen because the guy who you felt like at least was largely involved with all those things was on the way out, was doing something because if you're selling Doodles in December while you're on McDonald's cups, you're not involved. So that's why the exception didn't happen.
That we're just jumping the gun, and the next partnership they announce, oh, we're running back camp in Dallas in October. Like, I don't think that's even in the cards. But maybe this is just a long play, and they haven't communicated those plans. I don't know, but it just seems odd to me to move on from Doodle Putt to camp to McDonald's.
I actually don't know that there's a bigger partnership in the world that you can do than McDonald's. Like, who feeds more people than McDonald's daily?
Yeah,
I would agree. I think like we saw a clear path. Like if they didn't have if there wasn't a public roadmap, right? We as people in this space, consumers, saw a clear path of where Doodles was going, right? Doodle Putt was like the first, hey, listen, this is, our characters are fun. This is what we can do with it. Then came camp, right? Then came the onboarding of Pharrell or I don't know the exact order, right? Like the Golden Wolf, and then came McDonald's, and it was like, okay, we can see how Doodles can be adopted, right? Like we always say, like the next Hello Kitty, the next whatever, right? Like we saw this progression of growth that Doodles was going through outside of Web3, right? They had the Doodle, what was the name of the animation? The Dudley and the whatever, the movie they did, right?
Dolesville and the Dudeverse. Dolesville and the Dudeverse is what you're looking for, Jerry.
There you go, right? And like we saw this progression of Doodles growing into a brand that could transcend this space. And then it just, and you're probably right, Steve, right? Something probably happened summer of 2024, right? Because then all of a sudden it just stopped after McDonald's. It just ended, like fell off a cliff.
Yeah, let's I was gonna actually, I was gonna say, like, I agree with you. I see we got a lot of hands, we got some Doodles. I want to give the other side of the perspective here because I know Sticker Dude, Eton, my guy, good guy, met him at Basel a couple years ago. Awesome community member. Really good dude.
Friends of mine hate me now, Steve, because I'm just sharing my feelings. Like I love the brand.
Oh, dude, we're getting crushed in Discord. Somebody said, shared the space and said, if you're listening to this, remember this guy has less information than you and is farming engagement. I actually have more information than you in many ways, and I'm not farming engagement. Literally, the title is the facts. They said no facts, just hypotheticals. The title is Doodles Team Max Exodus. I'm not sure it could be more factual than that when 4 major team members have left in the last few months, and 6 months ago, a CEO left and was forming his Doodles. So it's just funny. They and the other funny part about this, and this is just classic Web3 behavior, which I get. I have been more supportive of Doodles when nobody was talking about them than most people. In fact, I've been told that by people on the team who we've had on our show. And thank you. I'm getting the hundreds from the Doodles on stage. I had them on when people were fudding them. I had them on when people weren't talking about them. I had them for every major partnership. I have bull posted them. I talk about them a lot. People love it when that happens. But like when things go poorly and we talk about it, or things go maybe questionably, or we don't agree with certain decisions, man, you get lit up. Let's get some Doodles perspective in here. I know we have Vo on stage as well. So I want to run around the horn here. Let's go Sticker Dude first, GM.
Hey, GM. My first thing is with all these activations, Arizona, McDonald's, etc., there was no incentive here to like have an OG Doodle. Anybody could have bought the packs. Anybody could have bought the Crocs, the G-Shock, etc. So there wasn't like sort of this appeal to having like a Doodle. When I first bought my Doodle back in 2021, like that was hype. The whole climb up to 20 ETH, like it was like a flex to have a Doodle. Like you got into Doodle Putt, people were in my DMs, yo, can I be your +1? Can I be your +1? But as like time went on, there was like less of a focus on the community. All these like partnerships which are amazing. But at the end of the day, in Web3, I feel like as holders, you're like sort of like, how does this benefit me in any way? Like there was like the person, the doodle who was featured in the McDonald's cup, for example, he was pretty like not happy. There should have been like a holder spotlight. Like these are things that I talk to the team. I'm like, these are easy layups. You'll get good PR. You'll get easy layups with the community, which I think where they went wrong is not putting an emphasis on their community, because like any other business, you're only going to be as strong as your consumers are. And if they're not happy, then I see that's where like the disconnect happened.
Yeah, and I'm other Steve. Sorry, Steve from the chat says I'm other Steve. Steve from the chat says Doodle holder since Mint. McDonald's was supposed to be sort of like Pudgy's Walmart moment in my mind, but hasn't panned out nearly as well as it has for Pudgy yet. And I agree. That was a criticism we had a lot. Is how do you make the OG holders feel whole? How do you manage the community while expanding the community? And it was definitely a challenge to do. And I think you heard that a lot from OG Doodles, where holders that are companies that are obsessive about their community in various ways and rewards tend to do pretty well. Want to get let's get Vo in here. Vo, GM.
Hey, GM. Yeah, I guess I'm on this side of Doodles just because people are. I saw Beanie's tweet. I'm sure a lot of you saw it last night. Beanie's a good friend of mine, but he tweeted, Magic Eden mass layoffs, Doodles layoffs, Pixel Vault, like just like doom and gloom of NFTs, and then trying to spin it in a positive light. But I actually corrected him and said, Magic Eden didn't have mass layoffs, Doodles didn't have mass layoffs. What I think is actually going on is both companies and probably a lot of other ones under the hood are pivoting. NFTs aren't sustainable, and I know firsthand Magic Eden is still very passionate about NFTs, but obviously has diversified the product suite and the asset class into a lot of different things, including wallets, swaps, slingshot, token trading, whatever it may be. And the same is probably true for Doodles and some other companies that are also undergoing this, probably just not publicly yet. And it wasn't layoffs, it was individuals just not wanting to be part of the company anymore, which is very normal. I think the issue is just it's all very public facing people for both companies. We're in a TradFi company. There's 150 to 200 employees, which is about what Magic Eden is, give or take, and 6 leave. And no one bats an eye. We've had 6 leave at once, or 20 have left on a layoff, and people don't care as much just because they're not as public facing. And it's not at maybe the public facing ones aren't announced around the same 2-month period. So I totally get the concern, and just, advocating for ourselves and Doodles. It doesn't look like what it may appear from the outside, and just hope people can have a little more grace. And both companies are still doing well. They have a lot of money, they have a lot of direction, and good people there. It's just sometimes people don't.
Wait, you said there are a lot of good people at Doodles. Besides Burnt Toast, name 2 other people that still work there.
I can. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Vo. I could. I don't know if any other Shirley. People still work there. Emlo. Like a couple things. One, Shirley's there. She does a tremendous job with communications and PR. I do. Jared's actually very good behind the scenes as well. Sarah on the law side, I could say on the top. You got Burnt Toast. You have a whole Golden Wolf team. So I don't think it's fair to say nobody's there. And I want to toss it right back to Vo here in a second. Sorry, I didn't mean to step on it, but I can actually answer the question very specifically because Pocky's still there leading community. He's an absolute vibe. I absolutely love that dude. One of my faves. But I would say and I want to get your take on this, Vo. I think Magic Eden and Doodles are actually very different products and communities and sort of. I think I look at Magic Eden. I never looked at Magic Eden as mass layoffs. I actually looked at a lot of people leaving Magic Eden as I think the company was very successful with a lot of people doing very well for themselves on the timeline and being in other conversations, and really talented, smart people are going to get opportunities. Like I look at yourself, I look at Elizabeth, I look at some of the other people and I say, okay, like I've had plenty of conversations. I've obviously met you. I've had conversations with you, like Elizabeth as well. I'm a huge fan of her. Like smart, talented, really good people. They move a lot, especially every few years. 4 years of the company is a long time. And I think that's probably the case with some of the things, but that you see there. I think Doodles is different because I see Magic Eden being this like everything product, putting things together. You see them going a similar direction to Phantom, OpenSea, some of the other ones. And I see, someone like you, Elizabeth, others getting opportunities and moving elsewhere because you are talented and smart and on the timeline. I think Doodles, the team is very talented and smart and good, but the direction feels more unclear. I feel more clear in Magic Eden's direction than I would in Doodles. So I think the overarching point you're making, though, if I'm hearing correctly, is like, look, like we don't know what we don't know, and it's not meant to be a shot at them for the people leaving, at least on my end. It's more directionally the things that we've been saying for probably 6 to 8 months seem to be coming to fruition versus like, I think Magic Eden at least feels a little different to me personally, if that makes sense.
Very normal. To Vo's point, it's great take. It's not just a Web3 thing. It's very normal. Like, Steve, guess the median tenure for individuals in the US age 25 to 34. Tenure with their employers.
I'm going to go 18 months, 2 years, maybe 2 years.
2.7 years is the median. Like that's normal. Like we don't live in a society where people work for their employers for 40 years anymore. Like some move up and there's opportunity like that, but to the point where this industry changed a lot in the last few years. And anyone that built a business around NFT revenues, whether it was royalties or creator fees, like we said earlier, like there's 2 ways to generate more profits. You have to sell more stuff, which some of them are going to have to pivot to find that as the creator fees and royalties dwindle, or you reduce expenses. And this is like, so when good people see that happening, it's like, okay, maybe I'm not getting laid off. I don't have to leave here, but there's no more upside. Like I've hit my glass ceiling here because the company's at this kind of an inflection point, and I know I'm not going to move up. I might get like a 3% pay rate, or I can take my newfound skills and attention and go seek a new opportunity. I think this is just very normal in today's society. And so like the people leaving, I don't think is a knock on any of these brands. I think it's, and to your point, Steve, they're all very different. Like Pixel Vault's, situation's very different from Doodles, very different from Magic Eden. I had Beanie's post put up there a little bit ago. I thought Spencer's response was actually pretty solid in the sense that he goes, this is generally good thing. The water needs to go out to see who's swimming naked. Most people are swimming naked, but it also means it'll be less crowded for those who are actually driving it forward. We've been saying since, years that there was consolidation coming, and this doesn't mean that these brands are done. It's just they're going to have to reinvent themselves.
And last thing I'll say, and I'll toss back to Vo, I think the difference in our industry versus trad business is that it's a build in public early stage tech business, which lives on X. And so when a very public person, and look, Austin, Greeny, and Squinch are on their spaces all the time, along with French Loaf. Austin was like their public-facing person after Julian had left. So I think when I see that, that's where people notice it more, and it becomes more obvious and becomes more a news event because your public-facing people might leave. Even when Julian left, I actually made the comment when Julian left, all those great people I knew behind the scenes worked on all those things too. So I did have a similar comment, but Vo, go ahead and get back in here.
Yeah, no, and yeah, but
do we lose you?
But no, I think it's the same thing. Like the overarching narrative is like, hey, the original strategy, whether it's good or not, that's not what the market wants and needs. And all of these companies are pivoting. I know Magic Eden firsthand obviously has a ton of things going on, but there are some really cool big bets coming out. Not to show them too much, but those are really cool things that they're working on. I personally left because I actually am still working there as like an advisor, so I'm not like fully gone, but I left my full-time position there just because I've been there for 3.5 years. I grew the company 0 to 1. I want to work on 0 to 1 products and companies, and Magic Eden has grown quite a lot, and it's amazing to see, and I just want that small team environment again. And that's very similar to a lot of the other people. Like everyone else that has left in the last month has been there for 3 to 4 years, and 3 to 4 years is almost double for the median tenure of people in our age group of the people that have left. And crypto, that's like kind of unheard of to stay at a company for 3 to 4 years, especially like on the Doodles or Pixel Vault side. Like staying at an NFT project for 2 years is pretty crazy. Inherently, obviously, Doodles is just an NFT project, but much more. So I don't know. I don't think there's any like weird stuff going on. I don't think the companies are failing. I think they're pivoting, and I think I know that firsthand, at least on the Magic Eden side, that there are some pivots and some cool things coming. But yeah, I definitely wouldn't consider what you guys are saying and what's being said on this space as anything attacking or degrading or, stirring up drama or engagement. It's just truly like questions and just discussion.
It's a great insight on, especially on the 0 to 1 thing. I agree. I'm the same way. Like I love 0 to 1. I love 1 to 100. Like I built a business. I was going to say franchise brand just for Braun Frunton as a startup, merged with a large competitor. So I went 0 to 1 myself, 1 to 100 with a franchise brand, going from like 2 to 800 stores. And then we got acquired by a Fortune 500 company. And forget 1 to 100 or 100. They were like, screw you, Chris, you're on cruise control. Like, you're not going above 65. And I was miserable. The entire time it was the same brand, the same business, but at different stages of the business. And after you get to that point where you're on cruise control or maintain mode, it's just not enjoyable for me. And I think other people are similar, where if you have fun in that startup breakneck speed environment, and then you get put into a box and it's like, okay, now your job is you got to sit on 8 1-hour-long Zoom meetings every day and talk to accountants and attorneys. Like, don't kill yourself, but go find a new job. Like, I just, like, that is a big deal. And I think a lot of these companies, whether it was they were forced to pivot or they grew out of that startup mode, like, at the end of the day, like, there's a lot of opportunities in crypto. A lot of the best people here, there's a lot of opportunities, both as independents, both as outdoor cats, or go working for another startup. So to stay somewhere where it's just not inspiring and making you feel a sense of purpose is silly. So I say to Bo and everyone else who's moved on or taken that leap to the next chapter in their career, congratulations. Like, that's awesome. And that always isn't like, that's not a negative towards their former employer, right?
Yeah, it's funny. I'm in the same boat. Even within, when I was at Progressive, a very large company, the big thing was they would like start a new department. Like when I started recruitment marketing, which, getting people to come to Cleveland over like Silicon Valley jobs in New York in like 2016, not easy. And they're like, we need to figure this out. I got to basically start it up and create the strategy and, everything from 0 to 1. Once I got to the point in there a couple of years, I went and led internal comms because I was like, I need to reshape something else, because right now it's like, it feels like it's a good place. And I handed it off to a person in my group and she did really well. And she took it from, 1 to 100 really quick. And so I do think there are people who thrive on certain types of environments. And I think it's good insight where it's a good way to kind of give the full picture of like what people are doing. And even the point that we saw from Austin Greeny and Austin and Greeny yesterday, I don't think Squinch posted, but Austin and Greeny, it's like, they're excited to start a new venture. Austin said founder mode. Like, he's probably excited to do something new because he's watched and done this thing for a long period of time. And I mean, look, I won't say another one, but there's a large company in the space that just had someone internally. They changed positions and they were really good at their last job, but they just didn't want to keep doing that job. And so now they're doing something new because they wanted a new challenge. They hired someone new to do that old job. And sometimes you just need to switch up. So I think it's a really good point by Bo. I want to go. I saw Happy's hand toss up as well. Happy, always pretty pragmatic about things. So I'll be curious what the take is here. I definitely want to get some doodles to tell us why we're wrong too, or disagree with us or give perspectives, because, our big thing on this stage is disagree without being disagreeable. Like, if we change our minds on stage, great. We're not dogmatic about anything. So Happy, GM.
Yo, GM, thank you for having me. So you're probably expecting of me to be bullish on Doodles and defend Doodles at all costs. I'm not going to defend my bags today. I'm pretty frustrated, to be honest. Essentially, I think Doodles has massive potential, still has, but it's fading away. And there's massive change that needs to happen on the different fronts to unlock that potential, right? And I think everybody agrees here. Like, I think a lot of people in the space that are criticizing Doodles probably are frustrated, and that's why they're also easy on criticizing it, just because like there's so much potential being fumbled. I've been loving the execution and everything that they've done in the past with the brands and everything, but the truth is, no one cares about partnerships at the end of the day in crypto. And if the play is to build an IP, a brand, right, that will be known by the masses, and that's 10, 15 years endeavor, right? And that's going to benefit the brand. That's going to benefit holders by proxy to an extent, maybe. But until then, we're the guys cheering for the NFT projects that are doing stuff, right? We're the guys buying the products. So which company today can sustain a model where they'll be successful in 10 years when the community's gone and when, well, all the cash is gone too, unless they have a way to bring it in. And for now, we're bringing it in because we're buying the products, right? So there's truth to people saying that Doodle holders have been essentially consumers, right? We've been buying stuff from the brand. I don't know if there's been a lot of cash flows beside this, but I think the brand now is just one angle of the ecosystem, right? You have the Doodles brand, you have the Dude token, and you have the DreamNet product, right? And so there's a lot of opportunities on those different fronts, not just a brand, right? I think DreamNet has massive potential, but it's just a vision right now. And unless you have a huge team, which has shrunk yesterday, and a lot of funding, you're not going to be able to execute on that vision, not to the extent that you've planned in your white paper, which, by the way, if you read it, there's no way you can't be bullish. If you've been paying attention to what A16Z has been looking for in terms of investments, they've been looking for exactly what DreamNet is supposed to build. But for now, I don't know that anything has happened. We'll see in the coming weeks. Dude, as a token, also has huge potential. I think as a way to link and benefit all the different aspects of the ecosystem. But for now, it's, I think, been pretty fumbled as well. It has no clear narrative, but it can change. So essentially, what I want to say here is I think we're at a pivotal point. I think there's a lot of potential ahead if we can strategize and execute in the right way. And what I mean by we is the team. I watch them so closely that I even feel I'm on the team, but I'm not. Just a shareholder, pretty much. But the change needs to happen fast.
Yeah, I agree. And I think like good point on how it's one of the toughest things. One of the reasons why like starting one of these brands is tough, because the way you scale is when royalties go away, you need to sell products. Well, who are you selling products to? Your holders. Well, how do you make your products appeal to holders and everybody else involved in a way that doesn't feel extractive? It is a very tightrope to walk. And it's a hard thing to do because you can't just forever. I mean, we have this concept with Forever Utility where somebody bought a lifetime membership. It's one of the reasons I give a lot of credit to Gary Vaynerchuk. Minted before Bored Apes, minted before everything else, right? Before most things in this space when he was going on NFTs. You gave me the sideways turn head dog turn, like sort of like sideways dog. I don't think so.
Yes, they did.
I'll
bet my entire wallet apes minted first. April 31st, May 1st. I vividly remember the night of mint out, and VeeFriends didn't mint until it was going to be May 5th. Then they had to delay it a few times. But yeah, apes 100%.
You might be right, because now that you say so, I'm thinking about the fact that the reason I didn't
May 11th. May 11th was VeeFriends.
Yeah, I was going to say the reason I didn't have a VeeFriend, actually, you're right. So it was around the same time frame, nearly the same time frame. They're more defined than apes. I'll put it that way at the time. But the as far as like what the utility and everything was, the reason I thought I forgot about that is I was going to get a Bored Ape, but I was keeping the ETH in my wallet to mint a VeeFriend. So you're exactly right, Cap, and that was my bad on that. Bad facts, fake news. It's
been a minute since we've had an error or emissions here. We need to get that in. It needs to become a regular segment again.
Fake news, as Donald Trump said to my brother on the phone when he called him fact checking for his story the other day. Still blows my mind. Donald Trump cared enough to insult my brother, but no, but fake news. But but I was going to say
11 days. Stephen Cap, 11 days. April 30th, May 11th.
But VeeFriends, but Bored Apes were like, remember Bored Apes roadmap? We're going to get out of our parents' basement. We're going to sell some merch. VeeFriends roadmap was you're getting 3 years of a conference. It was the only thing that was promised. In retrospect, limited time utility makes a lot of sense because they don't have to deliver beyond the 3 years. Now, he said it's not the last VCon. He liked VCon, but it's a point that this lifetime utility membership is like, okay, so somebody buys your NFT. It's no longer making money. Your holders aren't making you money. You're selling to them and they're getting upset when you sell them. They don't like your partnerships. It's a hard job to be an NFT founder, particularly a PFP brand. I'm not saying cry for them. They pull in all this money, but it is a little bit more difficult when you're trying to make that model work and keep everyone happy.
Have you looked at the VeeFriends floor recently?
Is it up?
It's like 2x Doodles. I didn't know this. It's like 1.78, 1.8.
Gary plays the long game, man. It's like, he's like one of my faves, right? It's like, I love my VeeFriends 1. I love my VFs 2.
Card is holding value. GG's. I did not expect to see. I just had to check, and I haven't looked in a while. I was not expecting to push in 2 ETH. Like it's pretty impressive for.
I mean, they keep executing stuff, and they keep doing holder stuff little by little. Getting access to $99 Tops box that you can Tops Chrome, which you can sell for $400 on the secondary, and you could buy 3 of. Like, people like that stuff. That's his culture and his nature. The sticker packs had a similar situation. People sold sticker packs at a profit. They're partnering with Steph Curry. They did a banger conference, best IRL Web3 you're going to go to. So they do a really good job.
For 6 ETH 3 days ago.
They gift code they announced some utility for. Anyway, we'll get back. I want to get back to Doodles community, but like I was gonna say, because I want to get some pushback or some thoughts from some folks in there. But I guess my point is
we needed Doodles Defendor on the stage here this morning. We gotta even things out. Who wants to defend Doodles?
You got Joey. Joey's on stage.
I got I got some defense on the side of Doodles for today.
That's who I was going to go to. Youngsun. Youngsun, I knew you were going to come and defend the wall, and I want to hear it. Let her rip.
Well, yeah, I mean, I to be fair, I have some bags of Dude and Doodles, so it's super biased. But I'm not defending Doodles as a whole, but I'm just defending the change. Now, I have 3 points. The first point I want to make is that Doodles, at the end of the day, is a type of a crypto company, like NFT or Web3 or whatever you call it, is not a pure Web2 IP company. So this means that just playing the 10 years IP game, like Happy said, I think if they were to go down that path, I don't think there's, a lot of reason for them to kind of like keep the Web3 aspect to it, right? And it takes such a funding, like money and effort for a prolonged duration of time to build that IP. And in the meantime, I felt like the Web3 connection to those directions might have not been that strong. So that is the reason why, even with McDonald's partnership or all that kind of like cool stuff that they've done, it didn't really ring a bell as much as what Pudgy has done in terms of partnerships. So I think that's the difference, because the connection that they've made from Web2 direction of partnerships that connects to Web3, I felt like was weaker. Now I think that they've already launched a token. I think crypto is crypto. You got to move the needle. Like the price goes up, everybody's happy. So you should really focus on where the liquidity is. The big difference I see is that Doodles has always been a little bit too focused on the Western world, where not like the majority of the crypto liquidity might be in outside of like institutions. A lot of the liquidity or like activities actually happen on the east side, right? If you go to the Asian circuit, Pudgy dominates the whole like scene. Like Doodle's basically very silent, invisible to some extent. I mean, I attend most of the conference that happen. I'm probably the only one rocking Doodles PFP. I sometimes get a pressure that maybe should I change to like Pudgy PFP because everyone else is on Pudgy PFP, right? That's been for a while now. And like rocking Doodles has not been as fun as it used to be in the early days. I think that's what the Doodles team has lost a little bit. I think so that's my point. And the second point is that execution is what matters, right? And honestly speaking, Doodles for the last, let's say, a year, maybe a year and a half, they really kind of sucked at execution. Like they had so much vision and all these this and that, and like all the studio, the Dolesville, everything was just laid out like halfway cooked, but it was never to a level where the execution was on point, relevant, and like really ring a bell to the customers, which is us, the community, right? So that's why I think a lot of things were just hanging. I mean, I work as a head of product for a crypto exchange. We do 1 billion plus volume every day on a USDT. I see a whole bunch of token projects publishing white papers. I research them, I watch them, I see what kind of volumes they generate. Doodles at like what the market cap is right now, the FTB is ridiculous. This is a joke right now, given how much value or like potential they were able to. So they clearly don't have, I would say, the executional power to actually drive the token price up, or they have the knowledge that like they have the team that has the knowledge to actually move the needle in terms of like having exchange relations, in terms of having like the right market makers to work with them in case of how they kind of get listed. I don't think none of them had that knowledge to begin with, but they just went ahead and got listed, right? Now, the reason why I say still, like, even with all these like fumbles, that I feel is bullish is because if you're not doing something right, you need to make the change. Now, I think Doodles have been making that change. Like, I think the first change was kind of like, making farewell with Julian. I think the second change is now. I'm not saying Doodles is going to be perfect, but I think if the startup is not going the right path and not making the right performances or outcome,
like it's better for you to pivot and change. Not changing will probably not get the right result, because I think just saying stuff in like a cool way and being on podcast and being loud is not enough. Because for the last few months or like maybe a year, people like, I mean, no offense to any of the Doodles employees, I'm very close with them. I love them. Like, I feel like they're part of my family. But like they've been saying a lot of stuff on podcasts, Twitter Spaces, Discord, but like what have really shipped that rang a bell? And it's been too much of a time where there were just too many things that was promised but never delivered. I would rather just not have them promise anything and then just focus on content for now.
Young, let me ask you a quick question. I'm just kind of curious. From your POV, this is subjective, so whatever you say is not true or false, whatever. It's indifferent. Do you think Doodles is better at the Web 2 side or the Web 3 side?
Well, obviously, right now, as it stands, I think Doodles is better at resonating on the Web 2 IP side, because that's what they've been kind of focused on for probably the last
do you think about the current restructuring of the business operationally, how were people coming and going? Do you think this brings about good change for the Web 2 side or Web 3 side?
Well, I can't say because I don't know the inside, but what I could say is I think just focusing on content is what they said, right? And they have a whole Golden Wolf team still within their disposal. So I would say like content production is what kind of made Doodles what it is now. So to kind of reset and start from there might not be really a bad idea, in my opinion. At the end of the day, though, like they have a token, right? And then they need to make the use of the token. And make sure that these tokens are kind of like pegged well to the ecosystem and have a case for upside. Otherwise, I think, Doodles will probably be at a hard time. I just think the current team setup wasn't really set up for like success as is now. So whatever the change is, I think is better than the status quo.
Right. So your opinion, which I think is fair. Your opinion is the current status wasn't working. I actually agree with that, but I think we would probably disagree, and we don't have to dig into it too deep, but like pre-Julian leaving, I personally, like, again, I didn't see the inside and behind the scenes, so I cannot speak on that. What I can speak on is as a person who is just giving a what you feel. I know our guy Von Front in the chat is the same way as me. We felt something towards Doodles. Every time I went to an IRL event during the Julian era, my kids would be like, did you bring me back something Doodles? They would watch shorts. They would watch the videos. They were in the Toronto International Film Festival. That's no small feat. They got major partnerships. We thought it was cool. My kids wanted to buy stuff. We wanted the vinyls. Like, they wanted all those things, right? So I felt like execution was pretty good. And I actually felt like, as a communications professional by trade, I felt like they were doing a better job after they came back from the random silence they didn't have a lot of good reasoning for. They came back and they were actually having cadence announcements. They were talking to things. The part where I'll agree with you is like, I still don't fully understand DreamNet and what it is. Like, I think I do kind of. Like, I made some suggestions to the team where I thought maybe they could go with it, like just in behind the scenes, where I was like, oh, this might make sense based on what I think to be true. I don't think I thought the token distribution was well executed. I think the token plan was not, right? They didn't have a lot of plans for what to do with it. And tokens are always like look, you drop a token, people are buying it for a liquidity or getting it for a liquidity event. It's not common a token goes up. So you're walking into a pretty big, you're walking into a bear trap when you release a token in a lot of ways. And it's hard to make people happy. Like, I don't envy anybody with the TGE. So I think that's a fair point. I agree with you. I think the current setup wasn't. I think to us maybe, and we won't live in the past forever, right? But it's like, I think to us, like, it starts to go sideways when you go from this major, like, you're like I think there's not a lot of people in the Doodles community who weren't stoked they were on McDonald's cups, like, and Times Square billboards, or in an IRL event in camp in Chicago that was mostly serving affluent people in the Chicago area in a wealthy neighborhood that were not Doodles holders or in the Web3 space. I think people were excited about like Crocs because they were selling above, they were, above what they were sold for at retail. G-Shock. Anyone who's in the watch game knows G-Shock is like the watch person's sort of like rugged watch. So I think they were doing a good job there. But if that wasn't the direction the team wanted to go, I totally understand. And I agree with your point that once they decided that wasn't the direction they wanted to go and they wanted to pivot, sure, like, it totally, makes sense that like the team isn't necessarily the right fit anymore. It sounds like the team is choosing, at least I can see, to go and start something else. Like, maybe it was like, hey, kind of what Vo was saying earlier, like, they've been there for so long, like Greeny and Squinch and Austin have been at Doodles for 2-3 years at this point. And so they are just moving on to their next sort of, venture, which I think is cool. And that's good for them. I agree with a lot of things you said. I guess the part that I fall into, and this is probably where we'll disagree, is my confidence wanes on ability to execute. I think Burnt Toast's layout in his tweet was very vague. I think stuff like that, big supporting evidence, which you just have to say trust.
I think every announcement we've seen from a while has been vague or led to more questions than it actually gave answers.
Yeah, it's true. It's very true. And I think they need to set up a new team that would do that much better. Now, I agree with a lot of things that you said, Captain, but just 2 points before I move the mic to whoever want to speak. Number one is that I think Doodles' peak was pre-Julian. Like peak Doodles was pre-Julian when it was 16 ETH, vibes were immaculate with the original founders. I mean, that's facts, right? I mean, they did fumble on some stuff, but that was where the peak was, in my opinion. The IRL events, even before Julian came, were already awesome. So they were known for Miami 2021, 2022. South by Southwest was the pinnacle of the events. It was already pre-Julian. So I don't think Julian was the only one that brought the IRL execution on point. And I think, to be honest, the original team with McKinsey and the people that were there were pretty good at doing RL events. But the only point was that it was kind of focused on the US side, like the Western side. That probably was, I think, something that I might have had difference in opinion. So that's number one. And I think number two is obviously for the strategy that they take, I think the Web2 IP strategy makes really real sense. And a lot of things that they did, actually, some of them were pretty successful. But what I think is tokens, right? Like tokens actually do a much better job in doing distributions for IP. Now, if you see, Pengu on Upbid, which is a Korean exchange, some random friends of mine are now having penguin toys in their bags, and they're just buying some pengus and just keeping them. It just reaches out to millions and tens of millions of people with ease, right? NFT is only 10,000 piece at max. If you go to premium, you're not going to really reach and spread that IP as much as you wanted to, which I think was a little bit of difference that I had philosophically with the Doodles setup, is because their distribution strategy, I think, was always very premium. And I think I just feel like if they were going for IP, with the McDonald's, stuff, they did try with D2, making it accessible, but that's still a collectible piece and pretty inaccessible versus I think fungible token, having a dude related token and have people just resonate with that IP and then connect it might be a better way to spread out the Doodles IP forward. I mean, this is just my personal opinion. We don't have to agree. I respect your opinion as well, but that was just my personal take. And that's why I'm bullish on the change, just because I think one way or the other, if the status quo isn't working well, you need to make the change. And I think they are at least having the courage to make that change, because a lot of just NFT projects or other projects, they just, fumble and then just, stay silent and then stay still and then just die till they go to zero, right? So I think it's better than that. Obviously, I don't have the highest of expectations at this point, but I still love Doodles as an IP, and I have a very high resonance with my PFP or the community friends that I met along the way. So I'll still support Doodles, but I think change it needed to happen. So I'm actually positive, because I just felt like it was going downwards for the last at least a year or half a year.
Yeah, no, I agree. Change is good. Also, good take on the East versus West. And you're right. Pudgy does a great job of this. You guys done a good job of this due to their surrogate over there, Animoca. It was an eye opener to me to go to Hong Kong in not last year, the year prior. It's just it's a very big region market on specifically IP. You see character IP everywhere over there, and there's a lot of wealth, there's a lot of collectors. It's a big part of crypto. So that is, I'm sure it's easier said than done, but that is worth noting. Steve, I had no idea. I was going to check him on the, I shook my head, or I kind of hairy eyeball when I heard that the top was in before Julian. it actually, like, per this chart here, all-time high 23.95 on May 2nd, 2022. The article I found on Julian getting announced was actually May 6th, 2022. So he probably was on board when that hit. It was announced a few days later. And then I was a little shocked to find, like, basically a month after Julian was hired, the floor went from 22 down to 8.5. Now,
when was Pharrell hired?
I don't know, but mid 22 was also like, I think that was the beginning of the end of NFT mania. So a lot of variables in this, but I was a little shocked to see that chart and it line up with basically the first month of Julian's hiring. It went from 22.
I was going to say, so a couple things on here that are probably important to note, just because both facts / opinions on different things. One, love Young's opinion, by the way. Somebody made a comment about like, oh, I don't know, like this take or something. I'm like, look, it's an opinion. An opinion's an opinion. You think it was best at this time. Other people think it's best at other times. That's what we want to do on this stage. I love that. So thank you for bringing that perspective, number one. On the factual point, though, Julian was advising and helping Doodles long before he was hired as CEO. So I think it's important to note that as things were coming on, even I think by Southwest 2022, the highest floor price I was going to say, I'm glad you put up the chart. I was going to go based on my my guess, and it turned out to be correct, was shortly after Julian was hired. I thought it was 20 in May of 2022, but it actually went higher. That was when Julian was hired officially on board. Pharrell was brought on in 2022 in the event that they did with the Chainsmokers at the Times Square place in NFT NYC that year. That also was a pretty bullish moment for a lot of people. So I think he was involved in some of that other stuff. Now, that said, there is a large contingency of people in Doodles when Julian got fired that I did not like, I didn't like that Burnt Toast took a parting shot at him when he kind of said, like, the Corpo extractive Arizona. Like, I had a problem with how he bid Julian adieu. I didn't love that. And I thought it was like, hey, guys, helped you set up the company and get things in a certain place. But a lot of Doodle holders DM me / respond to me and said, we didn't like more packs. We didn't like it. We felt the pressure to buy. We felt the pressure to be part of this. And it wasn't what they wanted. They didn't feel good about it. So I think it's fair to say some people didn't like that era as much. I think we're in a different time, though. I do think that the Discord grinding, sort of like getting the Discord moved, not Discord grinding, but the getting the Discord gated Discord, the mint, the hype beforehand, the love of Doodles, the memes, the Evan and Jordan sort of Poopy and Tulip stuff was really fun with Burnt Toast doing the art. Like, I think it was a fun era. I think it was also a different era. And I think right now, who are we seeing rise to the top and be most successful? It is the Rekt Brands of the world, which are actually selling a tangible product and doing real things within Web 2 and Web 3 and straddling it well. It is the Pudgy Penguins who are straddling that very well. It is sort of the abstracts of the world that are trying to go to consumer chain and also pull things forward this way. Like, it is certain things on Solana that you're seeing that are going kind of both Web 2 and Web 3. The business brands are being more successful. There are exceptions to the rule for sure. Like, Milady's aren't going to be a Web 2 brand anytime soon, and they're doing just fine. But I think, you see Yuga going this direction. You see a lot of brands moving this direction. So I think it's important to say that, for what it's worth, the proof of plays, which are doing really well, like, those are the metas that seem to be doing well right now. And it feels like Doodle's going a little bit in the other direction. But again, it's okay. And I agree with the general premise that after Julian's departure, it hasn't been super clear what's happening, where they're going. DreamNet was announced, but then didn't happen. The token didn't exactly go as planned. So I think you're right that if changes have to be made, like, I don't think they were let go. I think they left on their own. But, like, changes are not necessarily a bad thing for the people leaving. They're not necessarily a bad thing for Doodles. And I love that you're so bullish on it. And people don't believe this when I say it, but I mean it. I want it to be a year from now and be like, damn, was I wrong about what happened with Doodles? Like, would be thrilled. I'm rooting for, I think they're an awesome, fun community and a great team. And I know the people who's on stage who know me said, I was a big Doodle supporter before, during, and after all things that happened. And I'll continue to love Doodles, but I think it's okay to disagree on the direction. And I hope you're right.
I think you're motivating Burnt Toast this morning, Steve. He's 19 minutes ago locked in per the meme. So I do want to get Happy in here. Happy, you've been super patient. Appreciate your patience this morning. GM, give us your take on this discussion this morning. Defender of Doodles.
Yeah, well, Defender, not so much today. I have to say it's time to have a conversation with open eyes as well. And yeah, I mean, saying the golden era was before Julian is pretty. I love you, Youngsun, but I think it doesn't make sense because it was a macro state of the space, right? It was just NFTs were up everywhere, and of course, when your floor price is 20 ETH, everybody's happy, right? I don't think the plan changed that much between the former team and Julian. I do think, however, the crypto centricism of the project did. They tried to expand outwards, and Steve, before you were mentioning Asia as a market that is worth looking into in terms of expansion. I think it's not a matter of geographic expansion as much as it is a need to center back on crypto at this moment. And so tracing back to what I said before, I think there's the shift that needs to happen right now is, all right, how do we gain that mind share, that relevance, that excitement back from the crypto community at large? There's so much growth potential already within. And then once we have that attention, then we can do anything with it. It's really like the Pudgy playbook that I'm advocating for here. I've been sometimes critical of Pudgy's because I loved the level of execution that Doodles was putting out in terms of brand activations, partnerships, stuff like that. Comms as well, like being in the right PR outlets, everything. But the truth is, within crypto, it's like a walled economy. Some things matter, some things don't. And Pudgy was doing it right all along. And so what I'm really advocating for here is like a 4 or 5 step approach that I think is the approach they should go for in this pivot. So I'll lay it out for you, and then I'm curious for your thoughts. The first step really is like to separate the token, Doodles as a brand and DreamNet, into different products and entities. You need that nimbleness, and you need to have teams focused on those different aspects of the business. Like you need to have the resources allocated to your ambitions. You can't have a team of 4 manage all those 3 things. Building a brand, a global household name is already hard enough that you need hundreds of people working on it. Of course, you may not have the capital, but that's what it may take. Last, if fueled by a community, but the community is shrinking as well. So with the attention decreasing. So I think you really need to divide those entities, have teams focused, and then really have that priority across the board on the token. The token is the distribution, the token is the vehicle for attention. And so you need to really put the focus on the token, give it a reason to be, infuse it with a lot of meaning, build community and sort of speculation too, right? Pump the token. And that's actually quite easy, I think, when you're Doodles. Like eyes are yeah.
I have a question. Why do you think what do you think Pudgy did well? I just like a curious question on your opinion.
They were able to build trust and unfluctuating support from their core community and expand outwards into the crypto space at large, gain relevance in the spheres of DeFi as well, infra, and all aspects of the crypto community at founder levels all the way to token holders. Like everybody loves Pudgies, and infuse meaning into this so that it has sustainable presence. And I think with that, they were able to fuel their success. Without this community support at large, they would not have been able to get to the heights they're at. And of course, they've been extremely good at executing with the nimbleness that is needed in a startup, especially a tech startup. So I think they were really good in that aspect, and we need to take inspiration from them. Do it the Doodles way, but take what worked for them. And it's a proven playbook at this point in crypto. So pump the token, focus on the token in the second point, and then bring in new holders through that vehicle. Because I do think also we need new holders, new types of people in the community. This morning I saw a tweet from someone under Beanie's post that said, Doodles has never brought any value to the space, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, what are you talking about? They brought so much more value than maybe 90% of the so-called builders in the space, right? The only headlines they made, except for the token price going down or like the NFT price, the only headlines they made were qualitative. They were really bringing value and benefiting our brand equity as a space. And you're saying they brought no value? What are you talking about? And then he was like, yeah, like the token price is the only proxy to what value you bring and blah, blah, blah. And so that's how Web3 people think. And it's truth. In our wider bubble. So if this is truth and if this is how the market behaves, then you got to play by the rules, leverage what you have, which is the token, and then use that to your advantage by aligning incentives and having a distributed way to make people support you, fuel your success, and then monetize that attention in many different ways. And it doesn't mean dump on your followers and advocates, right? It just means leverage that power. That's what crypto is about. Aligned incentives, decentralization.
Yeah, the reason I ask is because, like I'm actually very close to Pudgy team as well. I've worked with them. They spoke in my conference, both Doodles and Pudgy. I've worked with Doodles team because I was serving at the community council. I think the biggest difference that I felt is like Pudgy has known like where they should really focus on. And you said like geographical differences don't matter, but Pudgy has been focusing on Asia for a very long while, like a very long while. And every time like Luca would come over, really kind of gather up like the Asian community. Some of their teams, including Austin from Pudgy and like, V and some other people, they actually lived in Korea for like a whole month to meet like different brands and trying to understand the market, including like Singapore and Korea. Pudgy did like an Asia whole tour last year for the entire year. And like my exchange Flipster, we were one of the co-hosts for one of the events. 800 people plus they came, like they were always present. And that's like a long investment that they did for a long period of time, not just like once, not just twice, but like pretty long time. You know why? Because Pengu volume, number 2 volume in Pengu is Upbit. That's a single country. Binance serves like so many countries, but Upbit only serves South Korea. And that's like number 2 in volume is in Korea. Like China, Korea, Hong Kong, these countries do all the retail volumes of crypto at this point. A lot of volumes come from there. Obviously, Coinbase or like Robinhood also does it, but it's really hard to get listed there. Outside of that, if you're disregarding the market where there's like such a retail volume on crypto, how are you going to pump the token? So that's why I think the strategy really failed. I've actually tried to help them come over multiple times. When Austin from Doodles came, I actually introduced them to all the big companies, Samsung, Lotte. I actually set up meetings for them as an advisor. Most of the meetings, I already set them up, like even before Pudgy have ever met them. But Pudgy were the one who actually did the partnership with Lotte, right? So we can see there's a difference in execution and follow-up, obviously there. Plus, I think what actually lacked was Julian never came to Asia, like not once during his tenure. There was no official Doodles event ever in Asia. It was all community driven. I hosted like 2 or 3 already, but like where was like there was no.
Didn't they do well? Didn't they do a whole? They did a whole G-Shock drop. Was actually launched in Asia by the team. With
that's true.
Partnership.
But, like, it was like I meant like during the crypto conference, it was kind of away from crypto, right? It was targeted to Web2 audiences mostly. So it was like pretty separate. I know that like the G-Shock drop, I mean like the Japan like 2G drop was really cool. There was a whole line to it. So it's culturally relevant. I agree with you. What I'm saying is, like Happy said, if you're to appeal to crypto crowd, you have to go when the crypto conference is, or at least be closer to when like thousands or like tens of thousands of people come for crypto, right? Not like center it around like whole random people who might like your IP, but it's not going to help you pump the token or the NFT, right?
I mean, I would say they did some. It may not have been as much as you would like, but I vividly remember there was a Doodles party at Ape Fest Hong Kong. Like it was a roller skating party, something like that. And now
that was community driven.
Sure, but it's
so
like they still there was something, right? They made an effort. They did G-Shock.
I mean, all of them are my friends. What I'm saying is like even for us, right, when we're hosting, it was all like a lot of it was Doodles funded too. Doodles helped us do it, but like it's different than actually founders being there, actually like catering to every single people coming on the door versus community members trying to do the best for your brand as a customer and community members. Is like 2 separate things, right?
Well, I agree. I agree.
I actually agree with you, Youngsun, here, just to bounce, because you mentioned before on what I said, and we're aligned here. Like what I was referring to as Asia expansion is more so in terms of business expansion, really, geographically. But what you're referring to here is more community building that is a bit localized, because there's a lot of strength in this community, a lot of liquidity, a lot of willingness to contribute. And I think that if you want to do it right, then you need to go in person. You need to activate things in person, not just empower your community, but it's a means to an end also. And I think the Pudgy community leveraged that a lot. What can we do for Pudgy while not it being you guys executing for us, right?
And I think we saw, like, look, I mean, I know Austin did, I believe, Korea Blockchain Week and some other things, but Julian going over there would have been great. I agree with the overarching point, but I think it is one element amongst other things where it's like, I mean, if you're asking like what makes Pudgy successful, it's one of those things where it's like, how long do you have, right? They engage traditional finance and have Van Eck interested. They're getting Pengu, and they're actually having market makers who are participating in it. They're launching a chain where they're giving advantages to holding those NFTs, so there's ongoing utility that works there. They have physical distribution in, yes, Asia, but also in Europe and also in America, and a very major retailers on our end: Walmart, Target, Amazon. So I think it's a lot of things. And I think the other thing I'd agree with is, part of the problem is, like, and I know Musty is champing at the bit to get in here, so we'll get Musty in a second, because Musty, I think, is going to do some dancing. But I do think it's important to say that, picking a direction and sticking with it is important. I personally, not everybody did, and this is where differences of opinions are totally fair. I personally like the direction that Julian was taking the brand. Maybe the team didn't, maybe the other community members didn't, and I actually think it's a fair disagreement to have. I think part of the problem is, at least from my perspective, again, I don't know, I can't say this, specifically whether it was working or not. I didn't see the financials. It felt like it was working, and it felt like, the community, at least to my recollection, seemed pretty happy about being the cock of the walk, being the talk of the town. When they were like doing these partnerships and they had, large people, crypto Twitter influencer people talking about them, they seemed happy about that at the time. And I think in retrospect, it's like, oh, it was a corporal extractor error because Burnt Toast says so. And I do think there's some people behind the scenes who are upset as well about buying a lot of packs. So I think that's fair. Picking a direction and going with it's important. The direction Julian had from the company was very specific, and the direction Burnt Toast has is different. Great. I'll just be curious to see how this goes, because I like the art. I'm curious to see how it, ultimately manifests itself. I think it has been really nebulous for the past 6 months with what's DreamNet. Is it coming? Is it not? It's AI, but you're creating things, and there's a token. How's it involved? The token's in Solana. DreamNet's on Base. What's going on? It was on Flow. It migrated over. What are the wearables? I think there's a lot of confusion around that stuff. So I think all of that stuff is fair to say, like, and that's where I think your point is really salient. Whatever was happening right now wasn't working. Shifting it up makes sense. Team might have been over it. They might not agree with the direction. Because, by the way, that happens at companies too. Like, let's think, like, I don't know. I can't speak for any of the team members who have left in the past, 6 months, year, whatever it is. What I can say is that I've been at companies. They've shifted directions. Vo kind of touched on this a little earlier. They've shifted directions. I've made the choice to say, I don't want to work at this company anymore, or it's not my thing. I had a job that I went for recently that I thought would be really cool in the Web3 space, and it wasn't the right fit. It wasn't for me. Directionally, it wasn't the right thing. And it was fine. We respected it. We went our separate ways. Everyone was cool with it, and still love everybody at that company and everything about it. So I think it's fine to say, like, directionally, a company's direction doesn't fit you, and that could be it. I like the direction they were going with Julian. And to me, it's like, now pick a lane and run, right? And that's what it is. And again, Von Frutten's similar. Von Frutten's like, I loved the Doodles most when it was under Julian's leadership. One man's opinion. Look, maybe I'm not the target audience. Maybe my kids aren't the target audience. Maybe Von Frutten and his kids aren't the target audience, because my 13-year-old, my 11-year-old, who, obviously were younger at the time in the past couple of years, his 13-year-old, I think he's an 11-year-old, maybe a 9-year-old. It's like those ages, like Doodles. I like Doodles. We were getting involved. We saw it. Maybe we're not the audience they want to go for it. And that's fine. Burnt Toast wants to be a little more edgy, a little more dark, a little bit more hipster, a little bit. That's cool. And if that's the direction it goes and it's successful, I know they were thinking a little bit more Adult Swim action. Great. But I just think, to the point of this, picking a direction and running in that direction is important. Say what you want about Yuga. They picked and they ran the gaming direction. Didn't see as much on it, on some of it. Now they're going all in on other side, as well as Ape Chain, right? Like, they're picking directions and running hard. I think that's important. So I know we have about 15 minutes left here, and we want to get over because there's some other stuff going on after the fact. So I want to let Musty get in with the take. We'll do daily market update, more, maybe high fly some other news. Really good discussion this morning, and appreciate the Doodles community coming up and having the conversation with us, because, again, we're disagree without being disagreed with, guys. This is our sort of, thing. And, Sticker Dude, Youngsun, Happy, y'all, like, all of you, your opinions are valued. And I love that you came up to give it. And I love that you're comfortable enough to come up and push back on us because, you know, we're not always right. We don't claim to always be right. We're simply going on what we believe. And at the end of the day, like, again, people may not believe it. I will be thrilled if in a year there are a bunch of pastel profile pictures dancing on this space saying like, hey, this was the greatest thing that ever happened. And it was the most important pivot we ever saw. So, you know, love you guys and love the Doodles community, but may get a little bit spicy here because I think Musty's about to come in. So Musty, if you're still there, thanks for your patience, GM.
Holy shit, dude. Just woke up from a nap. Nah, the boys already said everything that needed to be said. I guess I've just been setting up here for so long. But really, the Doodles are just fucking cooked. Like, genuinely, they're just fucking cooked. I feel like Austin and the boys, like, as much as I like the other boys, Swinch and Greeny, I feel like they did burn toast, and whoever's even left that Doodles just absolutely dirty, dumping this retarded white paper all over the community, a shitty token that didn't need to exist, and then just leaving 2 months later. Is the most ridiculous fucking thing. And I understand people leave companies and this and that, but bro, that's just crazy work. And they have to leave a guy who clearly doesn't understand, you know, like tech or AI or whatever in the same way that, you know, maybe Greeny and the boys did. Now you just left the shit at his doorstep and was like, yo, clean it up 7 times and then you can go back to doing whatever you're doing. So yeah, I feel bad for, like, as a Web3 participant, I feel like it's kind of fucked. And I feel bad that he has to do this. And I also think the change is probably good for Doodles. I think Austin was just, every time he spoke, I couldn't fucking take it. He was so egotistical, just walking around like his shit don't stink. And I think that's part of the reason why probably they couldn't close some of these deals that maybe they tried to. So hopefully when Burnt Toast is done mopping up all the shit, Doodles can just get back to like being fun or whatever.
Doodles getting back to being fun would be good. I mean, look, there's a lot in there. You said so much to unpack. You did not disappoint when you uncorked. I think on the side of, like, you know, them leaving, I think, look, people leave companies at all sorts of times, critical, not critical, things are going on, things are not going on. Like, people do that. And, like, we don't know what the deal is with the token, who decided, why they decided, what the plan was. You know, it sucks. And, like, we also don't know, like, if they felt handcuffed in what they were trying to build. Again, who knows? But if they felt handcuffed or like it wasn't working what they wanted to build, like, they might say like, hey, we're going to jump elsewhere. So I think there's a lot of nuance to it. But at the same time, like, last part you said, like, I would love Doodles to get back to being fun. Like, I would love to do that. It's just, I don't know. I can tell you who the Pudgy community is. I can tell you who the Bored Ape community is. I can tell you who these various communities are. Right now, it's hard to tell you exactly who the Doodles community was. It was a lot of creative people, a lot of art-driven people, a lot of people who liked.
There's none. That's why, bro. There's literally none. There's 82, all of his wallets, and a couple other people. Like, the Doodles community is one of the worst, bro. It's fucking the most invisible shit to watch. And it's why everybody goes to Penguins. Luca never burned his community, and I don't think he ever will. The Doodles burn their community 100 times over, and all you have left is, like, yes men. And even those yes men are coming to my DMs and basically telling me, like, yo, you're fucking right.
Yeah, I will say, like, from my experience firsthand, it's like I always, like, felt the community was awesome, but I realized it's probably because I spent the better part of 3 years, 4 years being a huge fan. And then when the Julian news happened and I wasn't a fan of it, I caught a lot of shit where people were not very nice to me. And I'm like, damn, like, my single line was like, I said I love Doodles. I'm holding my Doodle. I'm feeling great. But honestly, like, don't love they did Julian a little dirty like this. I thought he deserved better with everything he did. It was awesome. So I wish they'd handled it better. Like, I almost floored my Doodle that day. I would have made a lot more money if I did. I almost floored my Doodle that day because, like, people were so nasty about it in the DMs, in the Discord, and I was like, that was one very minor line. So I can see your point about, like, the point of, like, you know, how communities treat people. And I think this happens in every community, but, like, I don't know, man. Like, I hadn't had that same experience when I've been critical of the Bored Ape community. I haven't had that same experience when I've been critical of the Pudgy community. I haven't had that same experience when I've been critical of some other ones. So it was very, and on some point, like, I talked to some team members, they're like, look, they're really protective of Burnt Toast. They love the dude, so it happens. And I get it, but I understand your point about the community and the burning thing. And I do have trouble defining, like, who you think of, you know, like, when you think of Azuki profile pictures, you think about Whale. When you think of Pudgy Penguins, I don't know, there's 250 companies. Mike Novogratz just changed his PFP to a Pudgy Penguin. When you think about Bored Apes, I could name you all sorts of people who I think of as apes, people who I think of as punks. Doodles becomes a little bit more challenging in that way, as far as, like, the creators leading the way. And you know, again, there's a lot, anyway, a lot to be said there as far as, that community in particular and kind of what that was. So I think that's a fair point. And again, I like a lot of the people in it, but I was surprised at some of the backlash. Even this morning, I think the title, Mass Exodus, your entire product team is left in about a month. Your business development leader left, and 6 months ago, your CEO left. Like, you went to go and be the CEO of Rolling Stone. It's a pretty big job. Like, I think that qualifies. But I do think, and the first thing I saw, like somebody like, hey, look in the Discord was like, hey, these guys are idiots. They don't know what they're talking about. They don't have a lot of facts. I'm like, I probably have more facts than most people. I don't always put them out there. And also, like, we're trying to just talk about the news and talk about what might have happened and give all the voices a chance. So it's like, you're going to defend the wall in a PFP community. I get it. I feel like sometimes the first reaction to people like us, if we say anything even critical after being supportive for 4 years, is, hey, fuck you, buddy. And we're like, whoa, like, I don't know, like when Doodles weren't getting on Spaces, I was hosting them, right? It was like when they were like a smaller team. And so I don't know, like it's a very interesting.
Tell them to fuck off, Steve. Tell them that's why they're porn, why you get paid to do this shit, dude. It's that simple. You guys don't know fucking shit. Most people that participate here know absolutely nothing. And that's where a lot of these companies go wrong. They hire people that know fucking nothing. What you need to be doing is you need to hire people that are in the trenches and understand the game. Why you think Clanishores hired Tyler or whatever, the dude that was up here, right? That Pudgy guy? Because he fucking understands everything here, man. These are the people you hire because they can tell you what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong. You don't hire fucking corporate skills or people who think they know what they're doing. Maybe they made a bag. It's the hard one.
So I actually agree with this. And Steve, we don't have time today. We do got to get to a few things before 10 o'clock here. As you mentioned, there is a big meet at the clubhouse in the other side today with those bubbles. I agree wholeheartedly that we can forget the title. Whether it's mind-shared lead or whatever fancy titles you want to put on these new people who understand crypto and more specifically crypto Twitter and how to capture mind share and generate attention, AI can't do that. And AI is, from a strategy standpoint, from a lot of the other quote unquote corporate tasks, for anyone that's like a intelligent founder, like we've got Von Frunten here who's building an entire business with AI as his co-founders. Like that is possible today. What AI can't do yet is generate attention, mind share. Like you need someone that understands this space to be able to do that. And maybe it's the great founder who's in the weeds and they understand crypto. But if not, like I do think these individuals who can serve as like I don't even want to say the face, because like Andrew doesn't speak for Klanos. They have a great team, but I think adding those individuals who are deep and understand how this space moves and how fleeting attention is and what they can like. I think that is a missing link that AI can't substitute yet. And I think that these hires are going to be extremely important for these companies. I think like,
go ahead. Sorry.
I think like Vo's a free agent. Like she's a very valuable free agent right now. She understands the space and it's what the value she can bring, her skills and her understanding of this space. It's just, you can't replace that with AI yet. And that's where I think a lot of people are going to head to is like, these are key critical roles, in my opinion. I think we are going to see more of them. And I think it's very different than just community leads or vibes. Like you need people who understand crypto and how to gain and keep attention in crypto.
Yeah. I mean, I think community leads are still critically important. I do. Like, I think that's an important thing if you're running a community-based brand. However, yeah, like I think the things that you get from these mindshare leads, to your point, like I think people are like, oh, you get attention on the timeline. That's true. That drives price and all sorts of stuff. I think the thing you really get from mindshare leads is people who understand the market because they got the mindshare by understanding the market. And so it's not about just being popular. I don't think you hire the loudest, most popular person. I think you hire the person who understands the market and is loud and popular. Bread Guy works for Mega ETH because Bread Guy gets the market and he's really well respected. ICO gets the market and he's really well, loud, and respected. Like I think it's an and thing. And I think that matters. Like Eli just got hired at Gigaverse. Shout out Eli. Love that guy. Eli just got hired because Eli is playing Gigaverse every day and knows abstract is in the trenches and tells you what meme coins to buy. So I think important stuff there. We got 2 segments to do before we close out to pay the bills. Do you want to hit market update and then that'll lead us right into more,
I'll play. The deadly market update straight to your brain. Powered by ApeCoin, no hype, just gains. Moving on 8chain, we bring in the heat. NFTs, Feds Alpha never miss a beat. 8chain on top, now we bringing the flex. The home of NFTs, figures now what's next. Come on, my head time, but you want the time, the chop for one time.
It's time for the daily market update powered by ApeCoin, the home of NFTs. ApeChain has it all, bringing fun, culture, and community to the blockchain. Dive in and see why ApeChain is on top. Cap, what's the market looking like this morning besides Doodles?
Well, the most important market is by way of Rock Paper Hands, of Be Epic, and Von Frunten over there in the abstract chat. You're not aware of this, but Rock Paper Hands actually with the double tip this morning. Looks like Be Epic as well. Von Frunten kicked things off with the 69 Pingu over there, and everyone else following through. But what you're not aware is I may actually cash some of this out just so when I have a birthday dinner tomorrow, I'm eating on my tip orders from Abstract. So appreciate all the tips always. Little extra love today on the B-Day weekend coming up here. Happy birthday to Peace Frog, by the way, who it's his birthday today. And Leos continue to be the best sign, and I don't think you'll find a Leo that would disagree with that. Anyways, I digress. Back to the actual market update here. We've got Bitcoin down 2% to 116, ETH up 2%. We know who the winner is. We know who's the driver. It's ETH season. 37.05 on ETH, $3.12 on XRP down 1%, Solana down 2% to 181, Doge down 2% to 23 cents, Cardano flat. Runes bleeding out again. On the meme coin front, we've got Sheep up 1%, Trump up 1%, Pudgy down 6%, little bit of pullback there. Bonk down 5% after ripping. Pepe down 2%. I'm not even going to show you Pump, but it continues to bleed out following the lackluster interview from Elon on TG's thread the other day. It's been down only since that appearance. And then last but not least, looking at our beloved NFTs here, Pudgy's down 3% on the day, Ape's down 3% on the day, Autoglyphs up 9% on just a single sale, but 88 ETH sale bumped that floor to 96. Doodles down 8% on the day following the mass exodus we've been discussing this morning. Lil Pudgy's down 1%. Moonbird's up 3%. CryptoPunks hanging out above 50 ETH now at 50.99, up 2% on the day following a massive, almost $1 million sweep on, or it was over $1 million on the hoodie punks. 6 of them, I believe, were swept, and big, just massive momentum in the CryptoPunk collection. Mutant Apes flat at 1.81. Crypto Dick Bucks down 3%. They've been popping on the volume chart though for I feel like most of the week. And Redacted Vermilio Baby's down basically flat, but popping on some volume. That's our daily market update brought to you by ApeChain. ApeChain on top, and head over there not just for Spotlight Season 2 wrapping up, but this meet at the clubhouse in Other Side coming up here very soon. I think that'll be worth it. And you don't need to hold another side or any assets to attend that. Good excuse to get your Glyph wallet set up if you've not already done so. Back to you, Steve.
Yeah, by the way, we still owe those claw polls for those people, those $50 claw polls. So maybe we'll kick that into Monday. It was a spicy day. Yeah, we won't forget about you. I also do have one other market update. We had a plague meme. We deserve better psyops was just shared by Elon. So GG to all the frog and plague ecosystem enjoyers. Just get in the conspiracy world and you will get some love there. Actually, talk about some big sales. We've got CryptoPunks coming through. Let's hit on that.
The more you know, brought to you by ENS.
Time for the More You Know, brought to you by ENS. And let's talk CryptoPunks after we had a big sale. We didn't even really touch on it this morning for a long period of time, but CryptoPunk is the OG flex of the NFT world. These pixelated punks launched for free in 2017, but that didn't stop them from becoming multi-million-dollar assets. The biggest punk sale ever, that's Punk 5822, 5,822. An alien wearing a bandana snapped up for 8,000 ETH, or 23.7 million in February 2022 during silly season. It's the most expensive punk ever sold. Another standout, Punk 7804, a pipe-smoking alien with shades, sold for 4,200 ETH, worth 7.6 million at the time. And don't forget about Punk 3100, another alien with a headband, sold for 4,200 ETH. Remember we thought all apes were going to go up to this level? That was fun. It's not just about singles. Some of the biggest sweeps also turned heads. In August 2021, an anonymous buyer bought 88 CryptoPunks in one day, dropping over $6 million. And in July 2022, Cap's favorite person, Kevin Rose, swept 8 punks in a single go just before Moonbirds took off. Whether it's a symbol, a digital art, or a slice of crypto history, punks set the tone in Web3. And that is ENS, The More You Know, brought to you by ENS, not just anchoring your name across Web3, but anchoring it across the internet. It's your identity, simple, memorable, and unmistakably yours. Security, interoperability, and ease of use. Go to ens.domain, secure yours now and today. Cap, Cap, any parting thoughts before we go Clubhouse? I was going to say happy birthday tomorrow. I don't know if people like your birthday being blown up. You strike me as not a big birthday guy, like wanting to be talked about. So I didn't mention it because I know some people keep that under the radar, but be remiss if I didn't say so. Happy pre-birthday, sir. I'm giving you a full day to live. I'm claiming your birthday's happening tomorrow.
Appreciate it. Normally I wouldn't. I'm just panhandling for tips today, so I kid. I enjoy turning 29 again tomorrow, and I'm undecided. I said I was going to do a I did not achieve the 6-pack, so I'm debating whether I do the cap trap tomorrow or not for Von Front. We'll see. If I feel good at the gym, I may throw out a gym selfie just to really as a not for anyone else other than a motivator for me. And if I do it, I may compare the 35 B-Day pick to the 45 B-Day pick, and makes me feel that I'm not getting older, actually getting healthier as I age. So if anyone can take any inspiration for that, I might share. We'll see.
I was rolling until June, and now I'm just slowly getting more round. So inspired by your work and what you're doing, and awesome to see. But yeah, we'll send everybody off into their day. Thanks everyone who came through this morning. Good discussion on Doodles. Thanks to all the Doodles community members who came up and talked and gave their opinions, pushing back on us. We appreciate the multitude of perspectives that we're able to get on that. We will talk to everybody bright and early Monday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern time. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, everybody.
Thanks for tuning into Coffee with Captain, powered by ApeCoin. We hope you enjoyed the show, and remember, nothing we discussed today is financial advice. Until next time, keep exploring, stay curious, and we'll see you soon. Have a great day.
Welcome to the future.